10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the John DiVito Show. I am back after my holiday break. How do you like my new intro music? I'm kind of digging this. It's 2021. I can't believe it. I'm just rocking out to this, man. I'm going to let it play. All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to the John DiVito Show. And today it's going to be a little bit of a politics-free zone on my show today. Quite frankly, I am tired of talking politics. I've kind of had it for the time being. We all know what's happening in Georgia. We all know what's happening in D.C. So I'm looking just to talk about some other things today and just chat about some other subjects. I've got a pretty good show, I think, put together today. So hopefully we get a nice full live cast full of people. I'm going to be playing some clips from one of my favorite comedians of all time, the Dice Man, Andrew Dice Clay. If you haven't heard of him before, you will hear him today, and he is just dirty, but absolutely hysterical. So luckily, I do have an explicit warning on my show today for some of his clips. And I'm just going to be talking about some news events that I've been reading about, some different things that I've been doing, talking a little bit about my 53rd birthday that just happened, and some other things that are happening, in life here in Massachusetts. So anyway, it is Wednesday, January 6th. It is chilly in Boston today, and that's pretty much what we get at this time of year. I believe it's 28 degrees right now, and that's going to be about our high. But luckily, so far, we have not had one of those stretches of weathers where we've been like, minus 20 with the wind chill factor. So that's been kind of good. And we really don't have much snow on the ground, which is kind of different for this time of year here. So, there's not much snow on the ground. The weather hasn't been terrible. I mean, it's cold, but not awful. So we're just kind of making do, and we're into January and just kind of moving forward. So, over the last couple of weeks, during the Christmas break, I was able to take some time off from my job, and I took a little time off from the podcast. I really hadn't intended on doing that, but it actually felt good to have some downtime and just to kind of get away a little bit from, my daily duties that I've been kind of, putting time into, and just kind of chilling out a little bit, which felt really good. So, for me, January 2nd was a big day. I turned 53 years old. Damn, how did that happen? I can't believe I'm this old at this point in my life. It happens quick, man. When you're not looking, next thing you know, you're 53 years old and kind of looking back on a lot of parts of your life. But for me, like I've said before, I'm pretty happy with where I am. I'm not thrilled about moving into my 50s, but it is what it is. You can't stop the clock. It's something that happens inevitably for everybody. So it's kind of funny. Now, though, when I have birthdays, I kind of like pretend like, there's nothing to see here. I just kind of move forward. I try to just pretend like it's not happening. I don't want presents. I don't want a cake. Just let's move forward, skip over that day, move to January 3rd, and then I can just pretend like the whole birthday did not happen. So that's kind of where I'm at now. When you're a kid, you celebrate your birthdays. And at this point in my life, I'm just not celebrating, unfortunately, birthdays too much anymore. So, but it was a good day. It was a chill day, just kind of relaxed around the house. And I did a lot of that over the last couple of weeks, which felt really good because, our life, we are super, super busy. We end up going out and, my wife and I are both working. We are just doing all different types of things, driving our kids all over the place for all their different activities and sporting events and different things. And we rarely, if ever, get time to just chill out. And it was kind of nice for my wife too. She actually took a week off. So she was off for the week. and she's kind of in a point in her life right now where she's transitioning from one job to another, and she is actually acting as the chief medical officer for her current hospital, which has been good for her. She's, I think, enjoying that. And, but also seeing some of the pressures that go with like a high level management job, where she was at Saturday night, got a call at like 9:30 at night from one of the doctors who was all upset about something. And she was on the phone for like an hour with that doctor trying to talk him down. So, with those high level management jobs, you get, I think, a lot of, problems and things that you have to deal with that, other employees don't have to deal with. So she's kind of seeing some of that now, but I know she's looking forward to moving on to her new job. And welcome, Wolf, and welcome, Erik, to the show. So, so she's moving on to a new job very shortly, and she's really excited about the move. And, she recently got her COVID vaccine. And I know we have a lot of people that have mixed feelings on COVID vaccines, and I completely understand that. I feel the same way. I mean, it scares me to think about getting a vaccine that could potentially have some serious short and long-term side effects. But I can tell you she did get the COVID vaccine. She had her first shot, and the only side effect that she had was she had a very sore arm for a couple of days. She didn't really have any symptoms, didn't have anything negative happen to her. And that was a good thing, because she, it's kind of scary to think about getting that vaccine and having something happen, but she was able to get that first dose and, didn't really have any side effects, which is good. So she's got her second dose coming up, I think, in a few weeks, and then she will be fully vaccinated. So what else is going on in my life? We talked about my 53rd birthday. I celebrated that kind of kept it quiet. I also chilled out a lot over the Christmas break, which was nice. Now, my daughter, Caitlin, this is going to be a great thing. She started driver's ed. So she is 15 years old. Now, my oldest son, Matt, is 18, but he has autism and doesn't have his license yet. We're hoping he will at some point. So my daughter, Caitlin, is the first person in my family, or my first child, to go through driver's ed. And man, driver's ed has changed a lot since I was a kid. She has literally been on Zoom calls or whatever for the last 2 weeks. It's 3 hours a night, 5 days a week. She has to get on. So she literally, I think, has 3 more nights of this driver's ed course. And man, the guy's a stickler. He's tough, her teacher, and she's just on driver's ed nonstop, for like 3 hours, from like 4 to 7:15 every night. And man, they take attendance in the beginning. They take attendance in the end. They make sure your video's on the whole time, so you can't be walking around your house and doing all this type of stuff. And I've kind of popped in here and there and listened to some of the things they talk about. And they were talking about, like, if you go under the hood, if you have a battery acid explosion, you could burn yourself and things like that. I mean, I don't remember them talking about that stuff when I took driver's ed. So things have changed a lot as far as driver's ed go. But now over the break, we had, like I said, we had 2 weeks off. And I watched a lot of Netflix, watched a lot of TV shows. And I don't know if anybody here is a fan of The Karate Kid, the original with Ralph Macchio. Again, there was the remake with Jaden Smith, which was also a very good movie, which I enjoyed thoroughly. But over the break, we binge watched, I think, in 2 days, all the Cobra Kai episodes. So yeah, if you like the original, Wolf, I do too. I'm a big fan of the original with Ralph Macchio, and I did like the Jaden Smith remake as well. But if you have not binge watched Cobra Kai yet on Netflix, you need to get on and you need to binge watch it. The show is amazing. It is absolutely fantastic, and it ties in a lot of the things that happened in the original movies to the TV show. Like, for instance, this past in season 3, I don't want to give too much information away, but you have, Allie came back. You've got all the old characters that come back into the series. And there was one funny thing that happened in the season 3. If you haven't seen it, I will spoil this. So if you don't want to hear this part, just kind of block your ears. It's not a major thing, but Ralph Macchio had to go to Japan. And he ended up meeting the kid, if you remember, the Asian kid that he fought in the second movie. And at the end of the scene where it was like life or death, Ralph Macchio like honked his nose and went honk honk on his nose instead of actually taking his life. Well, the two of them have a get together in this film also, and they have kind of a training fight in the dojo of the guy that he fought in the Karate Kid Part 2. And at the end of the fight, the Asian guy did the same thing to Ralph Macchio. He grabbed his nose and went honk honk and squeezed his nose. We were dying laughing, but Johnny Lawrence in the new Cobra Kai series is friggin' hysterical. He's like a typical 80s guy that, is just a complete hard ass, but you end up rooting for him in Cobra Kai more than you do sometimes, I think, for, Ralph Macchio's character of Daniel. But, oh my God, I absolutely love Cobra Kai. So if you guys have not seen that yet, you've got to tune into Cobra Kai. Binge watch it. If you're fans of the Karate Kid, you will not be disappointed. I can promise you that. And my family loves it. We literally watched the whole season 3 in like 2 days, just binge watch nonstop. And I think I was drooling by the end of the 2 days of just watching. And pretty much that's what I've been doing for 9 months. I'm either working, I'm doing podcasts, or I'm watching Netflix and, Hulu and whatever else. So I think I've watched almost every series there is to watch on Netflix, Hulu, all these different platforms. But now I was listening. It was funny. I kind of heard this story yesterday. I was listening to Hits Radio in my car on Sirius XM radio. I've been listening to that station quite a bit because my kids like the music on it, and I kind of like it too. So I've been tuning into that station. And the DJs on here, Sirius XM radio for Hits One got on, and they were talking about Mylie Cyrus. Now I don't know if you've seen this story with Mylie Cyrus. You can Google this. You can look it up. But Mylie Cyrus, she's one of those young performers that likes to shock everybody and, do whatever she can to like shock, Americans and young people and whoever. But she got on and was talking about the fact that she loves sex toys. Okay, so that's apparently a big thing for Mylie Cyrus. She loves sex toys, but when she buys them, she doesn't just use them, but she also uses them to decorate in her house. And if you Google, honest to God, if you Google the story, you can see the pictures. And she has like a table with all these giant toys stacked up on one of her kitchen like cabinet shelves. And it's just crazy. So she, Mylie Cyrus, not only does she like the toys, but she likes to decorate with the toys. Now, I never thought of that. When we decorate, we look at Crate and Barrel and different places where you can buy, nice, classy decorations for your house. But Mylie Cyrus, she dual purposes, man. She goes out and she buys the sex toys and then just puts them up around her house as decoration. Now, if I was someone that was going to be dating Mylie Cyrus, I would come over, and based on some of the toys that she had out, I think I'd be threatened as a man by some of these things. For God's sakes, what can I give Mylie Cyrus that she hasn't already gotten from the numerous toys she has displayed all around her house? So crazy, man. Hey, Cummings, welcome to the show. Just talking today, man, keeping it today kind of like a non-politics zone. We talk a lot of politics on the show. We all know what's going on in Georgia. We all know what's going on in D.C. I'm just looking to take a break from some of that stuff. We were talking a little bit about my 53rd birthday, my daughter taking driver's ed, the series Cobra Kai on Netflix, which my family absolutely loves. And then we just got into talking about Mylie Cyrus and the sex toys that she decorates her house with. That was something I heard on Hits One radio yesterday, and then happened to Google it and see it from my own two eyes. And, it's one of those things where you can't unsee it now to see all the different things she has stacked up around her house. So as I mentioned, we're in Massachusetts. For some of my people who live in the South, good for you. You're experiencing warmer weather. I'm happy for you. Up here, we do get a little bitter in the middle of January because it gets damn cold up here. And, I could do without the cold. I would prefer some warmer temperatures. But one of the things we do up here in the Northeast, now I'm not sure if anybody does this anywhere else, but up here we do a thing called the polar plunge. Now, I'm not sure if anybody's seen this on television or if maybe you've done this, but up here in Boston or New England, you have these crazy people that get out, and a lot of times they do it on January 1st or right after the beginning of the new year, and they do it maybe to benefit a charity, or they do it for whatever reason, and they literally will go out in their bathing suits in early January when it could be 3 degrees out with a wind chill of minus 30, and the water temperature is probably 40 or 50 degrees, and they literally jump in the ocean and they swim, and they call it the polar plunge. So that's something, it's a big thing in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, up in the North Country. Now, for those of you that have not been to New England or haven't been to Massachusetts, New Hampshire, now, one of the things you get in the Northeast is we have some really beautiful beaches. So you've got, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, parts of New Hampshire. They all have a nice coastline and they have beautiful beaches. But I'm one that will tell you that I grew up in New Hampshire, and even in July, it's very hard to swim in the ocean here because literally you go in the water and it's still, if you're lucky, maybe 60 degrees, 62 degrees. So, but you have everybody that swims in New Hampshire in July because it could be 90 degrees out, but the water is still freezing. So as a kid at Hampton Beach in New Hampshire, I would go into the water and I would start swimming. And literally by the time you walk in and get up to your waist, you've almost lost feeling in your legs all the way down to your feet. So it's just kind of crazy where these crazy people swim in January in this water when really the only time you can swim in the ocean in New Hampshire anyway, in Maine most likely, is probably in August when the water maybe get up near 70 or so. So it's kind of cool. So let's see. I see Cummings says, do you want to talk to Alexandra? I'm not sure who Alexandra is, but sure, bring Alexandra in. If Alexandra wants to call in, I'd be happy to talk to him. And I'm going to be playing some clips today. I'm going to be kind of having kind of a little bit of a crazy show today. I reached out to one of my favorite comedians, Andrew Dice Man Clay. Now, for the people that don't know the Dice Man, he was big in the 80s. And he was a guy that was rude as hell. And he made up a bunch of nursery rhymes and kind of changed the way nursery rhymes went. So I recorded like a 4-minute segment of Dice Man, and I'm going to play him shortly. So for the younger people out there that have not heard the Dice Man before, hang in there. You're going to like this, and I'm going to play it a little bit later in the show. So talking a little bit earlier about the COVID vaccine, I told you my wife got her shot. She's doing pretty well. She had no pain really, except a little bit of pain in her arm, but she's feeling good. You know, so that's kind of a cool thing where she's finally got that first step done and, you know, seems to be okay. But yeah, going back to the Dice Man, I did reach out to him. I'm hoping to get him on my show. I know he's not as big now as he used to be, but at one time he was really big. So I sent an email to his people and oh my God, I would love to have him on the air with me. So we'll see if maybe I get lucky and get the Dice Man on to do one of his live comedy segments. I've got Erik calling in and also Alexandra calling in. So hold on one second. I got my phone lines lighting up.
Well, you might hear a little bit of background noise. I'm at a McDonald's picking up food, and I've got my mask on.
Oh, hey, I got to ask you. I'm not going to do politics today, but I wanted to ask you, how are things in Georgia right now? I'm sure people are disappointed.
I haven't really paid too much attention. I would imagine it's still a fluid situation, either way you slice it.
All right. Well, you know, it is what it is. For me, I'm just kind of tired of talking about politics, so I'm kind of taking a break today a little bit.
I've been on a retweeting tangent this morning, and I had I replied to a tweet by quoting it and got it retweeted by the person I quoted.
Nice. That's always good when that happens. Hey, Mr. Ray, welcome to the show. Jess Duck, welcome. So today we're kind of having like a non-politics show, and for the people just coming in, we've been talking about Cobra Kai, one of my favorite series on Netflix. We talked about my 53rd birthday, my daughter taking driver's ed. We talked about the crazy people in the Northeast that do the polar plunge, that jump into the ocean when it's like in the 40s degree-wise, the water, and the temperature might be like 3, and they jump into the ocean for whatever reason. I've never been one stupid enough to do that. I have no intention of ever doing it, but it's one thing I see every year that the people in Massachusetts doing their polar plunge. So we talked about that, and I've got a bunch of different stories I want to talk about. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be playing a clip from Andrew Dice Man Clay from the Dice Man from back in the 80s. I reached out to his people. I'm hoping to get him on my show. And for those of you that don't know the Dice Man, if you haven't heard him before, it was just raunchy comedy from the 80s. I'm going to play like a 4-minute clip of him. And if you're offended easily, I apologize. But that's coming in a little while also. So I see also I've got Alexandra. I don't know much about Alexandra. So let me welcome Alexandra to the show. Alexandra, how are you?
I'm good, bitches. How are you?
Doing very well. So now, Alexandra, you know, I have to admit, I was talking a little bit earlier about Mylie Cyrus putting sex toys all around her house. She actually buys them for her personal use. This was on Hits One Radio yesterday. And then she uses them as decoration after the fact and just leaves them out everywhere for when people come over. So I noticed that you might have a bit of a sexuality about you. I see the picture. What do you think about Mylie Cyrus using sex toys to decorate her house?
Oh, it just sends a thrill right up my leg. I love that idea.
Now, do you use sex toys by any chance, or is that something?
I just bought a brand new set of butt plugs yesterday.
Really? Now, explain to me the purpose of a butt plug. I'm not exactly sure what those are used for, but I'm just kind of curious as to how you use a butt plug.
Well, it's just like pegging, John.
Okay. That's just like pegging. Gotcha. Well, I'll tell you, I was a little, when I heard the story on Hits One Radio, of course, I'm in the car with my kids and they're talking about Mylie Cyrus's sex toys. So that was awesome to start with. So I go home and I Google the story and I look at it and they have a picture of Mylie Cyrus in her house with like these 10 gigantic dildos stacked up on the counter. And she just leaves them out. And I got to say, if I'm dating Mylie Cyrus, I know what I'm packing. I think I'd be a little intimidated by seeing those monstrous devices up on the kitchen counter. Now, when you use devices, do you use different types, or what's your favorite type of device?
It's the machine. It looks like a sawzall. I think that's what they call it. And you can sit there and you can turn that thing on, and it'll just ram you all night, baby.
I think I've seen that before, and it looks like it's almost like is it the one that's like a saddle? You sit up on a saddle and you kind of rev that bad boy up, and I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm an old man. I'm not in with all these sex toys. I'm kind of old and outdated, So let me ask where are you from? Are you from New England? Are you from the U.S.? Where are you from?
I am from Georgia, but I moved to Vermont.
Oh, you live in Vermont now. Vermont's a very progressive state. Now, are you heterosexual? Are you gay? What's your persuasion?
I am a homosexual.
You're a homosexual. Okay. Now, I can't really tell by your picture. It looks like you're wearing a dress. Now, are you a man, a woman, a he, a she? What are you?
I am a pansexual.
Okay. Now, you have to help me. My daughter can help me with these things. I'm an old man. I don't know all the different. Now, what exactly is a pansexual?
Well, a pansexual, for those of you who are wondering, a pansexual, let me get the official definition.
Okay,
it's not limited. We're not, I'm not limited in sexual choice. I'll have sex with men. I'll have sex with women. I'll have sex with men that look like women. I'll have sex with women that look like men. I don't care what it is.
Nice. Now, for me, I don't know what I am because again, I'm married to a woman. I've never had sex with a man, and I've always wished I could have sex with a man because I always thought if I could find a man that was of the same general size as me, then you double your wardrobe right away. So if I could find a man of my size, you have sex with the man, you marry the man, whatever, and then all of a sudden you could just go into his closet. You like that shirt, you take that shirt out, you wear it. For my wife, I tried that, but she's a small, and I look terrible in booty shorts, and I look terrible in dresses and things like that. And it just doesn't work out, especially being that I have a hairy back. So it just doesn't work with any of those type of things. But, for me, I can't figure out what I am because I am a married man, but I've been married for a long time. And I would say that probably I have sex with myself more than I do with my wife. So does that make myself like a self-sexual? What does that make me?
You're asexual, John.
Well, I guess maybe I am. Well, you know what it is? When you're a married man, I've got 4 kids, and when you have sex, it's a good thing, definitely. But then when you have sex and then you have a child that ends up costing you like $200,000 over the course of their 18 years, it kind of takes the fun out of the sex. So I think it's like a negative reinforcement. Like if you put your hand down on a table and someone hits you with a ruler, that's kind of what it's like. It's like, every time I put my penis someplace, it gets hit with a ruler, which is another 18 years of responsibility and expense. So I think I've learned my lesson to kind of stay away from that,
Well, you could be like the new progressive society and just have sex with the children too. It's all wonderful.
That is true. That's something that it seems like now, it started in California. You've got, the Harvey Weinsteins. You've got.
He's my hero.
Oh, he is. Yeah, that's the in thing now. If you're going to be cool today in 2021, it's cool to have sex with children. It's cool to, molest children. It's cool to go to a pedophile island and, not get in trouble for it. So I guess that's the way our society's going right now. So have you visited a pedophile island by any chance or no?
I was just there the other day with my buddy Bill and my sister Hillary. Nice. And I'm going back next week with Jeffrey because, he's not dead. He didn't hang himself, He just choked on a big fat cock while he was in prison.
I know that's true. He's still alive because again, where is it? Where are all the liberals going to go if there is no Epstein Island for them to visit? Now, you said you were there with Bill and Hillary. Now, we all know that Bill likes the young girls. We saw that with Monica Lewinsky. But now, how about Hillary? Does she partake or does she just visit and take in the sun when she's there?
Oh, her and Huma, they love to just. Sex on the beach is not just a drink for them, John DiVito.
Oh, now are there any other what other type of things happen? I mean, it can't just be all sex all the time on Epstein Island. I mean, do they have other activities? Can you golf? I mean, do they have amusement parks? I mean, what do you have on Epstein Island, or is it just pretty much you go there for that hardcore sex?
Well, most of the time, we get out there and we perform satanic rituals and we pray to the big giant owl Molech. And then we go rape some more kids, and then we run around on the street naked. We like to do that.
I'll tell you, man, this is the one thing about podcasting. You write down your plan for your show, and it always goes in a different direction. But I'm digging this direction. It's funny. I didn't expect it, but I'm liking this. So now you're up there on my panel, and I'm sure if you're on a computer or on your phone, you can see Erik Kirk. Now, he's a handsome man. What do you think of Erik?
I spoke to Erik last night, and let me tell you something. Erik said he had 9 inches.
Really? Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive.
Oh my Lord!
I do also.
I said I was 5'9" tall, but my what is 6.5. I mean, no pun intended.
Erik, I heard that you were 5 foot on your back, but 9 inches standing up on your back.
Oh my Lord!
Oh my Lord!
Yeah, same thing here. I'm 9 inches also, but that's when you multiply it by 3. So 3 times 3, and I get
there's nothing wrong with a little chub, John.
Yeah, I mean, I've been told that I guess I'm known as the chode around town, so that's okay. I'm proud of what I've got, and obviously it works. I've got 4 children, so it may not be gigantic, but it's effective. So I'm very proud of that. So I see Cheza has entered the live studio. So now, what do you?
2 inches. 2 inches is dangerous at 90 miles an hour.
Oh my God, that is true. That is true. I think at some point I may have to go to the Dice Man. We've kind of established, I think that's the way this show is going to go. But now looking at Erik, would you date Erik? I mean, he's obviously a handsome single man.
Oh my gosh. Listen, I'll go with anything, boy. You haven't seen nothing yet. I went with and Erik's hair. Oh my gosh! I look at his hair.
Well, I got to tell you,
I haven't been to the barber since May 13th of last year.
I mean, I've got to say, I'm like I said, I've been kind of like a straight-laced guy, but I'm looking at the picture, and I have to admit, I'm a little bit aroused right now. I mean, do you like older men?
Oh yes, older men. It's what they say: older the berry, the sweeter the juice.
Oh my God! Yeah, this definitely welcome back from my break, and very happy to have you on the show with me. And Erik, so now maybe we have a bit of a love connection here. You're looking over at that picture, kind of an attractive person. Would you end up dating Alexandra?
It would all depend. But I mean, I would probably see if I could have other people competing for me.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, you are definitely an eligible man here on Podbean. I mean, you're obviously the marketing extraordinaire. You're now going over to the VLP network, doing your thing there. I mean, I would think that there must be a lot of interest in Erik Kirk and getting some people interested. So, you may have to fight for him if you want a piece of Erik.
Well, you know what? I tried to get some of that Guy Pertwee last night, but that dude was just so out there.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So I've got to ask you, I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting into this now. I didn't expect this today. I was expecting the show to go a different way. I've got all my notes here that have now gone out the window, but I'm looking at that picture. And again, you've kind of got me kind of like that Jerry Maguire line. You've got me at hello. So I got to ask you, what are you wearing right now?
I'm actually not wearing anything right now.
Nice. Now, where are you in your house or your apartment? Are you actually laying on the couch? Are you in bed? What are you doing?
I am laying outside in the sunlight, just enjoying it on this beautiful cold day.
Nice.
You're not concerned about getting hypothermia or anything?
Oh no, I got plenty of meat to keep these bones warm.
Hey man, more cushion is better for the pushing. So that's what I like to hear. That's good to hear that you got a little bit of meat on those bones. Now again, I'm still being an older guy. I'm still figuring out all these different categories. But
you're still fingering out. What are you fingering, John?
Well, I only have one thing I can finger, and I usually stay away from that. So it's kind of that's kind of an area I've stayed away from. But for you now, being a pansexual, do you have a penis or no?
Yes.
Is it big?
Yeah, it's like 12 inches long. I mean, my God. I mean, look it up, man. I'm the white Lexington Steel.
Ooh, Lexington Steel. I'm familiar with him. I've heard the name before. Not that I've seen any of his videos on Pornhub, but I have heard the name before. So he's, definitely. I look at him, and he is the anti-John, the anti-shrinkage. I've got the 3 inches. He's got about 14 inches. So you're kind of putting yourself in the same category as a Lexington Steel.
Oh, yes.
Nice. That's impressive. I don't know, man. That kind of scares me. I think for me, though, if I was going to become gay or try the gay lifestyle, I think I'd want more of a starter dick. I don't think I'm ready for that yet.
Well, that's why you gotta get the butt plugs, John. They start small and then they just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But some women tell me, I went with a woman one time, and it was an interesting sexual experience. She wouldn't have sex with me. And she said that she wasn't going to let that thing destroy her, because she said she would much rather be trying to get more dick than trying to beg for more of it to come out of her.
So you find that a lot of women are intimidated by the size of your penis.
Yes.
How about men? Are they intimidated, or do they welcome it?
Oh, no. They love it.
Erik, 12 inches, that would be scary, I would think, wouldn't it? It would.
Maybe.
Oh my God! I think in that note, can you hang on with us for a little bit?
Oh, sorry.
On.
If I make too much noise.
I want to play a little bit of the Dice Man. Who wants to hear a little bit of the Dice Man? Anybody interested?
Oh, yes.
All right, this is like a 4-minute.
Yeah.
We're going to go back to you. So for those of you that don't know Andrew Dice Clay, one of the rudest comedians from the 80s, and oh my God, he was one of my favorite. He was hysterical. So I did send an email to his people. I'm looking to hopefully set up an interview and get him on the air with us, which would be awesome.
And then Andrew Dice Clay, I love that one CNN interview he walked out on when he told the CNN anchor who couldn't get his facts straight. He uttered like the Jesus effing Christ, and you could hear everybody in the newsroom just gasping like how could he do that? And then telling the CNN anchor to go F himself. That's classic.
He was classic. Well, here's a little clip for him. I'm going to play it now. It's about 4 minutes long, so enjoy, and then we'll get back to Erik and Alexandre. Here we go.
Well, Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet, eating a curds and whey. Long came a Spidey, sat down beside, he said, "Hey, what's in the bowl, bitch?" Oh! Jack and Jill went up the hill, both with $1.25. Jill came down with $2.50. Oh!
That fucking whore.
That fucking whore. Little boy Blue, he needed the money. Oh! Three blind mice, see how they run. Where the fuck are they going? Was an old lady lived in a shoe, she had so many kids, a uterus fell out. Oh, you're unbelievable. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, trim that pussy, it's so damn hairy. Oh! Oh, Mother Hubbard went to the cupboard to get her old dog a bone. She bent over, Rover took over. Oh! Exactly. You know, that's pretty good. I fucked her. Yeah, well, that's pretty good because... You fucking guys are unbelievable. You're an old now, pal. Yeah, all right, sit down. All right, Snapperhead, beautiful. It's the type of guy that goes down on a chick all night and goes to work without washing his face.
You're listening to the Dice Man, Andrew Clay.
No, you know, I dug that. That's good. Because you did your homework, you studied, you learned the lines. But you see, I also keep working. And I put together a few new poems. Well, stick these in your pocket, all right? Little Jack Horner sat in the corner eating a pizza pie. He shit pepperoni, blew his friend Tony, wiped his mouth on his tie. Oh, they get better. They get fucking better. Mary had a little lamb she kept in her backyard. When she took her panties off, his woolly dick got hard. Georgie Porgy pudding and pie jerked off in his girlfriend's eye. When her eye was dry and shut, Georgie fucked that one-eyed slut. Oh, you want poems? I got fucking poems. Little Bo Peep fucked the sheep, blew a horse, licked his feet. She ate his ass so very nice, tongued his balls not once but twice. Hickory dickory dock, some chick was sucking my cock. The clock struck 2, I dropped my goo, I dumped the bitch on the next block. Oh! End of story.
All right, there we go. There's a little clip from Andrew Dice Clay from the 1980s. Definitely one of my favorite comedians. So I did shoot a line out to his people today, and hopefully we'll get a response back and maybe get him on the show. So now, Erik, were you a fan of the Dice Man at all? I mean, he was a little bit before your time, but did you hear any of his stand-up stuff?
I mean, I've only seen videos of him, but I like how he presents himself as unapologetically unfiltered, though.
Yeah, he was, I mean, for the span of, I don't know, like 4, 5, 6 years, he was huge back in the 80s. He was in a lot of different movies and things like that, and just a funny guy. Now, did you see the story by any chance? Now, this came from actually upstate New York. Now, this is something that's always kind of scared me to kind of take the show in a different direction. Now, have you ever gone skiing, Erik? Are you a skier?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, one of the things about skiing is, again, I'm a lousy skier, but a lot of people in the Northeast ski because we get a lot of snow. But one of the things that always scares me is when you go up the mountain, you're on your ski lift. And at some points, the ski lift is pretty high off the ground. So apparently in upstate New York, a teenage girl slipped on the ski lift. She was up riding the ski lift at the top of the mountain. She ended up slipping somehow out of the seat. I'm not sure how this happens. And she was literally dangling by her jacket.
I think I saw an image of that on Twitter last night.
It was on Twitter, on Good Morning America and stuff like that. So the poor girl was literally hanging from a ski lift. And eventually they ended up putting, they got like almost like a little mini trampoline or whatever it was. And you had a bunch of guys holding it down below her. And she had to like drop, it looked like 20 feet down to safety. I mean, that for me is like one of my worst nightmares, thinking about going skiing, being on the ski lift and ended up, getting stuck or like falling off the ski lift. And I know that I'm kind of afraid of heights, and that always scares me. So I saw that in the news, and that was something that kind of just got my attention,
And I just posted a link to that one YouTube video I was talking about where Andrew Dice Clay walked out on the CNN interview on a cursing tangent.
Well, I mean, that's what he did. And, a lot of the 80s comedians, I mean, you had like him, you had Eddie Murphy. I mean, before him, you had Richard Pryor. I mean, you had a lot of really good, Sam Kinison. You had a lot of really good, funny comedians back in the 80s. And again, they were dirty. I mean, that's how they made their money. That's how they made their mark. And that's how the Dice Man was. I mean, he was.
And George Carlin is another prime example of politically incorrect comedy and humor.
George Carlin was amazing. I mean, George Carlin was a guy, he was rude, he was dirty, definitely politically incorrect, but he was a guy that was smart.
And Roseanne Barr, let's not forget about her.
Yeah, Roseanne was good too, but George Carlin, he really brought more to the table. He was a very intelligent guy. He would talk about like real world issues and would really tie in a lot of, his, I guess, view on things into his comedy routines. And a lot of times, he was right on the mark with a lot of the stuff he would talk about. So George Carlin definitely was one of the best comedians. Yeah, Roseanne Barr was good also. And I'll tell you, I started watching that reboot of Roseanne when it came out until they kicked her off the show, and I was done with it. I mean, for me, I thought that she was treated very unfairly when they booted her off the show. So I actually enjoyed it. I was happy when it came back on, but once they kicked her off, that was pretty much it for me. So I'm not watching TV or anything. What's happening in DC right now? Are we seeing is Trump giving his speech right now?
Hadn't turned on TV or anything or looked at any social media videos that are live.
I don't want to talk too much about politics today, but I figure we touch on it a little bit. I think with Trump and Pence, I don't think anything Pence is going to change the result. I mean, I could see Pence, maybe making his opposition, but I can't see him making a radical move to support Trump. So, it's one of those things where, he could do something, but I don't think anything's going to change today. Do you think I'm wrong on that? Do you think that something drastic is going to happen today, or is it going to be just business as usual in Washington?
I mean, I would hope something comes of it, but we really don't know for sure.
All right. Well, listen, as I talked about a little bit earlier, been watching a lot of Netflix during the break. At this time of year, we've been trapped inside for the pandemic since March. And, with Biden coming in as president, who knows what that means? Are we going to have a complete federal lockdown coming in the next few weeks or after he's made president? We may very well have that where the whole country.
Trump is speaking right now. I just turned on the TV for a minute.
Yeah, it's great that they're having the rally, but I don't think it's going to change anything. I think you're going to have Biden is going to be president. He's going to be inaugurated in, and that's going to be the way we're going to go. I mean, if something different happens, that would be great, but I could see it being that's going to pretty much just remain as it is, I think, right now. But, for me, I've been watching a lot of Netflix series. And do you watch a lot of TV or not too much, Erik?
I really don't watch an awful lot of TV like I used to. I mean,
yeah. I was just like. There was a show that my daughter told me about. I hadn't been familiar with this show. I guess it's this movie. It was back from 2011. It's called Megan is Missing. And if you haven't heard of that, man, she had, I guess, seen this movie on TikTok. Someone had said that if you end up watching this movie, it's one of those movies that it will literally scar you for life. So she ended up telling me about it. And of course, we watched it together because we watch horror movies together. And I figured it would be just kind of like a conventional horror movie. It was not what this movie was about. And honestly, I think this should be required watching for every teenager in America. This was a story about these two high school girls who were friends. One was a little bit more loose morally than the other. And one of the girls ended up meeting this boy who was really charismatic online and, sent pictures of himself and, was handsome, well-spoken. He arranged to meet her at a party, but then he didn't show. So she got back on with him and was disappointed he didn't show. And, he gave her the whole line about, well, I was there, but I was too intimidated to walk up and talk to you and things like that. So eventually she agrees to meet him a second time. And when she does, of course, she's abducted. And the friend who was her best friend goes on a crusade to try to help her. And eventually the friend gets abducted by the same person. And once these girls get abducted, they literally show you most likely what it would be like if you truly got abducted by a killer. And it was graphic. It was scary. It was nasty. And the ending was just shocking. Shocking. I literally watched this movie with my daughter and it was coming into my head for days afterwards thinking about it. But I mean, it's so true when you look at, all the freedom that people have on the internet today. And you hear about all the, the girls and things like that, and even boys that are abducted in society today. And you see, something like this, like a movie like this that shows what's possible and what happens to certain people who are abducted. I mean, to me, it was just awful to watch this. It was just shocking. So for anybody out there, if you have a really strong stomach and you want to see a movie that is just shocking, but it's very realistic as to what would probably happen to a young girl if she was abducted by a serial killer, then watch Megan is Missing. It's from 2011. You can find it on different platforms out there. And I'll tell you, for me, it would be troubling for a teenager to see it. But if you have a teenager that's acting out and being kind of crazy out there and not listening to your rules in your house, then this is something that they should see to find out what's actually possible and what can happen. But man, I don't know. I still don't know if I'm happy that I watched that or if I'm not. It's still like, obviously, I think I have PTSD from watching that movie. It was just terrible, just a crazy, crazy thing. So, hey, Erik, let me ask you, you've been over on the VOP network. I emailed everybody this morning. I'm still planning on coming over. It might not be until March now. How are things going over at VOP?
I mean, it's still
going over there?
Well, it's still a work in progress. So we're hoping that the VOPUSARadio.com app will be ready, sometime this month. We're hopefully, Dan is days away from debuting it, but he's going to keep us posted on when it officially goes live, and then we will pass it along. But I mean, I know your Podbean contract will be up in March, and then Slightly's Podbean contract will be up like the first weekend of May. I'm thinking, and then, but I know some of us like Cummings' Culture and Wolf's Real Talk Radio are already planning on leaving Podbean anyways, but since they have proven themselves to be so Section 230 friendly, but whereas VOP is free speech friendly. Right.
I mean, that's the one thing that's nice about VOP is where you can have that free speech, because I know, Podbean has censored some people. I've been lucky with that. Really hasn't happened to me yet, so I don't know, what the reason is as to why I've been spared.
And then, after I'm hearing about a few of our podcast friends having some like strange dilemmas, like if you listen to Dennis Lee's Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole, like they don't really just entirely kill switch him. What they do is they do something with his audio to where, we don't hear him talking, and then he's always forced to have to start up a new live cast. And then you could tell when he has to go and edit up his shows from that night to be published. You'll hear like gaps in between.
Right.
I
mean, you talk about the shadow banning quite a bit. That seems like that happens.
Yeah. And, and then Cracks had that dilemma with her, not being able to do live shows for a while, but she wound up finding out like much later that somewhat how her Podbean account had been hacked into to where she couldn't even go in shows and interact and talk with other friends, and couldn't do her own shows, and somebody even tried to rack up like charges of like gold bean purchases, and she never ever at any time received an email notification from Podbean that her account had been compromised, which to me that is negligence on Podbean's part, because they.
And let me ask you, where's Podbean based?
They're supposed to have offices in New York City, but I think from
Podbean a U.S. company, or?
But I'm kind of thinking they probably have foreign interests in Podbean, whereas VOP would be American in interest only.
Right. Yeah, I never, because I did reach out to Podbean customer service over something once, and it took them a few days, but they did write me back. I don't think anything ever came of my request to them. But, for me, all in all, I've been relatively happy with Podbean in a lot of different ways, but there are some things I think that can be certainly improved upon, but I mean, it's problems like everything else.
When I think me and James from Slightly Serious and Dan from VOP and Wolf and Cummings and Truly were on like a Zoom meeting call over the weekend that you were regrettably unable to take part in because of your birthday. It was mentioned that basically Podbean has become like a podcast, like radio version of Facebook, where you have people coming on doing live casts who, the way they come off is they clearly have nothing better to do with their lives.
Yeah, I dumped Facebook. I had to. I mean, after, for me, I've been on Facebook for many years, and the one thing I'm going to miss is just missing, I guess, being connected with some of my childhood friends that are not on the other platforms that I'm a part of. But I mean, literally every time I posted something on Facebook, I either got a warning, I got suspended. And after my most recent 3-day suspension for something extremely minor that I felt was just unfair at that point.
Mark Levin left Facebook too.
Who did? Oh, I saw that.
Mark Levin.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm done with Facebook. I had a very popular page on Facebook called The Pussification of America that had 70,000 followers, and that's gone. My page is gone, and I've primarily gone over to Parler, and I like a few of the others. Now, there's a few other.
MeWe, and then, and then like, then I hear TikTok, of course, is not any better. Even our friend Cracks, gave up her, TikTok presence back in August, and another recent controversy about TikTok is somebody posting a video of what appeared to be a young girl, like bottomless, being fondled and molested by, and many people, that they were getting deluged with reports to take that down. That is very sickening. That right there, to me, that would be like more like, evidence of a crime. But I think that TikTok decided to let the video stay up, basically. That perfectly suits our standards. That's the way TikTok is.
Well, that's one thing about TikTok. Like, I'm relatively new on TikTok.
Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Chuck, welcome. The number one show is here. Congratulations on being number one on Podbean. That's great news. But yeah, TikTok, one thing about that is I've seen nothing but, I mean, I do like the platform, but to me, there's a lot of young, half-naked young girls dancing on TikTok. And I know, we were just talking about that movie, Megan is Missing. I mean, you got to be careful where you put your stuff out there. I mean, you have to realize that you may have certain people you want to see these videos, but then there's going to be other people out there that are just weirdos and perverts and, sex traffickers. And you need to be careful, the things you put out there on the internet. Hey, God Soldier, welcome to the show. But yeah, I mean, you got to be careful. And that's one thing I don't like about TikTok. I'd like to see less of that and more of some of the other stuff that's on there. But I'll tell you, let me just get this. The platforms that I'm kind of liking right now, I deleted Facebook, done with it completely. I'm gone. I will not be back. But some of the ones I do like is, if you haven't seen Clouthub, that's CLOUT Hub. It's set up very similar to Facebook, and they don't censor people. It's got more of like a right-wing feel to it. Then this,
I think Gab and MeWe are other good ones too, along with Parler.
Yeah. Well, I'm on Spreely and MeWe also, and those are ones that I found that are very similar to Facebook. But the problem is, I mean, everyone's on Facebook. Nobody is really on these yet, but hopefully that'll change in time. So, yeah, well, Chuck, this is my first show of the month, so I've been dragging my
Well, Slightly Serious, I think, is currently standing at number 8, last I checked, and then Trice Talk is at number 16 after being at number 9.
No, it's nice to see some of the good, and again, this is
non-church shows, yes.
Nothing against the religious shows. I know that they meet a purpose, and they, they have a lot of people that like those shows, and I think that's great. But it's nice to see some of the non-religious shows also make that top.
Oh, Alexander's back.
So we've got, hey, Alexandra, welcome back to the show. So we've got, as you mentioned, you said now that Chuck is number 1. Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea podcast. Now, are they number 8 right now?
Last I checked, yes. But I think what helped propel Trice Talk and Slightly Serious into the top 20, you're talking to them, because I got my stimulus check on Friday, but still waiting to see whether the remaining 1,400 comes through for us.
Right. Well,
I sent Slightly a diamond, and I sent old man a gold mic, and I sent Trice Talk a gold mic and a rainbow.
Hey, where's my love? Where's my love, man? I don't care. I mean, for those things, that was something that was important to me in the beginning. And for me, I just care about now getting on, having a good time. If I get gifts, great. But I do know that they charge a lot to the Podbean community to pay for those things. I think that they take almost 50% of those points, which is kind of crazy. Hey, Chuck, listen, if you want to call in also, I was just talking about that movie, Megan is Missing. I remember I had texted you about that, and that was something we watched, man. That was just a scary fucking movie. I watched that with my daughter, and I think every teenager that dresses like half naked on TikTok should be forced to watch Megan is Missing so they can realize what happens when you put yourself out there like that. So, hey, Alexandra, welcome back to the show. Good to see you again. How are things going?
Did I hear Erik say something about a rainbow?
It's a Podbean gift. You have to spend $50 in order to donate the 300 50 beans for it.
So, did you like rainbows, Alexandra? Does that kind of get you going?
Oh, it gets me really going. Hey, I was checking out a podcast the other night, that Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea.
Right, he's in here now, number one on.
Oh,
Podbean.
yeah, he's
Maybe we should
number
have Chuck
one.
Call in. Chuck's here. Chuck, why don't you call into the show, brother?
Chuck was talking the other night about wanting to suck my dick.
Really?
Wow.
Chuck's got a beard, so that would probably tickle.
Oh, it just tickled my little balls into the next century.
Oh, so Chuck, what's going on, man? I've heard stories about you, president of the Motorcycle Club and all that shit. Didn't know you were looking to, get down and suck dick. So that's kind of new. I didn't know, Chuck. So if you want to call in and explain yourself, Chuck, I want to hear a little bit about this, man.
I think Alexandra would be a great candidate for the next episode of Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea, and let's see how the audience responds to that.
Well, I agree. I think you should definitely be on that show, Chuck. You got to get Alexandra on your show. And as Chuck said, $20 is $20. So, you got to make your money.
I didn't pay that motherfucker. He paid me.
Oh, man. So, Chuck, I think you need to call in and explain yourself, man. I'm not sure. We're getting like a different story here as to what really happened. Now, do you think Chuck's a handsome man or no?
No, he's ugly as hell. That's why that motherfucker had to pay me.
And another great friend, he likes to do some roasting. It's our good friend Glenn from the Glenn Feldner Sports Show, formerly of the Random Couple Show.
Glenn's awesome. He is so funny. I love Glenn. He's a good guy. And I wish Glenn would actually come back and broadcast live on Podbean. I mean, I know he's doing it, on his own. He's kind of
he's just basically doing his thing right now. But hopefully he might decide to come over to VOP as well to do his sports show and occasionally do a comedy roasting special.
Now, Alexandra, I'm going to ask you, if you were going to take Erik out on a date, what would the plan for the date be?
I have no idea. Erik, where's your favorite place to eat?
Don't really have too much of a favorite place. I mean, I tend to be a homebody most of the time.
He likes tossed salad, if you know what I mean.
I'm guessing that if you were going to take Erik out, you'd just invite him over for a movie, but there'd be no movie, and you go right to the sex. Is that what I'm thinking?
Oh yes.
Now, hey, we got Chuck that called in. Now, Chuck, there's a little bit of a disagreement over who. So maybe you guys can work this out on my show because we want to make sure we get the true story out there to everybody.
No, it's all good. I don't even know who this is, so
You don't remember my name?
Nope. Because that means you're not important.
You were screaming it the other night, big boy.
Yeah, I highly doubt that, my friend.
Oh yeah, I know that. You were screaming it. You were going, "Oh yeah, Alexandre, give it to me harder."
Yeah, okay. I think you need to get you need to take your medication like ASAP.
You know what, though? We do have some audio. Someone just sent this in to me. So I'm not sure if this is actually from that night or not. But this is something that I'll just play in the background a little bit. So, I don't know.
You okay?
Is this Chuck?
Oh.
Nope.
No, I don't know who it is. But anyway, so Alexandra, what's going on? So he doesn't remember your name. Does that upset you?
He remembers my name, and that's exactly the way he sounded the other night. When he talks about medication, he's talking about his erectile dysfunction medication.
I'm talking about the STDs you give people. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, so now you admit it. Oh, now you admit it because it burns.
I said you give people. I said when you give people. I didn't say me, my friend. You might want to pay attention.
It burns. It burns when Chuck pees. Everybody, you heard it here first.
Okay, whatever, there, buddy.
Hey, so Chuck, congratulations on being number one, man. How does it feel to be number one on Podbean?
Feels good to get rid of that trashy ass church shit. I'm sorry, I'm sick of it.
Do you think you can stay up there? That's the question, because these church shows are tough, man. They bring some serious numbers every month.
Yeah, we brought 205, so we beat them all. So.
Nice. It's got to feel good to be up at the top. So what's your secret from being up at the top?
Well, there's a few people like someone gave us a yacht and an island, so that's what jammed us up there. So.
Oh yeah. And I'm certainly waiting for Ralph to work his way back into the top 20 too. And especially if he's got new episodes of his Friday night Sex Talk with Virgineer show coming back, along with his morning coffee talk show.
Yeah, Ralph's got a good show. I don't always get up, and usually I'm working in the morning, so I don't have time to get on to Ralph's show. But he does have a good show. He does a good job. Now, Alexandra, do you like Ralph's show? Do you ever listen to the Ralph Williams show? Because I know on Friday nights he has that show, Sex with Virgin Ears.
Sex with a virgin.
Sex Talk with Virgin Ears. I think that show had kind of like taken a back seat, but also they're coming back with new episodes in the new year.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on that show a couple times. It's pretty funny. And, I remember when I had a couple of sex podcasts back in the day, I had, Father Brian came on and told us still the story that still resounds with me. He talks about him having sex in a coffin. I'll never forget that story. That just scares the piss out of me. I don't want to lay into a coffin until I absolutely have to. So I give Father Brian credit for having sex in a coffin. But I guess for you, Alexandra, where's the craziest place you've ever had sex?
It was in the back seat of a car one time, but it was with a local politician.
A local politician. I'd like to hear more about this.
Yeah, me and Bernie Sanders did the dirty one night.
That's right, because you're in Vermont, right? So Bernie Sanders. Now, did Bernie have to take Viagra?
Oh no, I got him up immediately.
Now, I have to ask the question because I'm that type of guy. Is Bernie Sanders big or is he small? What's he packing?
Well, he was he sort of redistributes the wealth, so I had to compensate for him,
So he's not blessed, is what you're saying?
Nah, I mean he's okay.
He's hung like a mosquito.
How about Chuck? How's he doing?
I'm doing great.
Oh, yeah, he's okay.
He's doing. I mean, you were saying now that you're much bigger than average, Alexandra. Is Chuck the same, or is he just kind of average? I mean, what did you find with Chuck?
Chuck sort of looks like Trump's. You know how Stormy Daniels said it looked like a mushroom?
Yeah, okay.
Oh.
Beg to differ, my friend.
Hey, just so you know, Chuck, I don't know who this is either, but I am enjoying the call, so I'm not sure who it is. I'm sure
I'm not interested in caves. Sorry.
Oh man. But anyway, so hey, now
I had sex with Hillary Clinton one time, and it was like throwing a damn marble down a fucking cavern or something. You couldn't feel anything in there.
Was that on Epstein's Island?
Yeah.
As you said, you visited Epstein's Island. So that's good. You met up with Hillary Clinton. You had sex with her. And I can't imagine that she's put together too well. I mean, she's, older woman, obviously, but to me, she just looks sloppy.
The mayonnaise coming out of her pussy.
Oh, yeah, it was mayonnaise. There was something else. Like, I was having sex with her, and I stuck my dick in her ass, and when I pulled it out, it had a fucking butterbean on the end of it.
Oh, just the thought of Hillary Clinton naked makes me like dry heave. That's just disgusting. Don't want to think about that at all. So, but good for you, man. You took one for the team. You went with Hillary. I mean, did you ever have sex with Bill or just Hillary?
Bill was more into the children.
So he liked
same with Trump.
That's what they say. Yeah, they a lot of the men that frequented Epstein Island like the young girls. So Clinton was there, I guess Trump. I mean, a lot of the men were there, and they were seeking out the young ladies, which is pretty.
Prince Andrew made me wear his crown one time and call him Daddy.
Oh my God! Now, what other stars did you see on Epstein's Island? Anybody else famous that we would know?
Oh yeah, Chris Rock came to Epstein's Island, and Chris Tucker, and oh God, what's that one bitch? I can't think of her name. She was in movies. Oh God, she's really old, and her boobies drag the ground.
Really old. Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Is it her?
Yeah, she was there too.
Wow.
Oh my. Yeah.
Satan was there.
Oh man. You were saying though, Epstein's not dead. But where is Epstein right now? If he's not dead, where is he?
Epstein's living out in Colorado, out there on his farm he bought right before he killed himself.
But now he just has Epstein's Ranch, no longer an island, just a ranch now.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Bunny Ranch, but it's really the Kitty Ranch.
Wow, that's crazy stuff, man. Hey, go ahead, Eric.
We were talking about like the three different like sex relationship theme shows you had previously done, and we were hoping we would do a fourth, and we were hoping we could probably get on Miss O back and maybe get Roxanne back if we were ever to get in touch with her, and maybe get Brian and Rebecca back. But I know Brian and Rebecca will be doing their get to know your podcaster interview later on this afternoon, of course. So that should be a must watch.
I had to reschedule that because of my daughter's.
Oh, you had to postpone it.
We're going to do next Wednesday at 5:00, so I had to postpone that. One thing I do have coming up is believe it or not, I've had 2 more people reach out to me from Agape, and one guy wants to talk to me today. Apparently, he said he's got absolutely just shocking stories of the things that happened to him.
Yeah, but
talking to him later this afternoon, and we're going to set up another show, about Agape sometime soon. But I'm going to probably use shows, a couple more this week, and then maybe get back more into the regular swing of things next week.
Right. But and I think if we were to do any more of those relationship sex theme shows, we were hoping we could get maybe Cha Cha and maybe get Lady Fables and Yazzie Yaz from the Raw Report to come and join us. But unless Lady Fables and Yazzie Yaz might have to go to one of Ralph's Friday night Sex Talk with Virgin Ears shows for that.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you, Miss O, man, she was on that show back in the day. Haven't seen her much anymore, but man, she was over the top on that show. Her and a couple of the other girls that came on, man, were very fun to listen to. And yeah, now Roxanne, I ended up getting on to Roxanne's page on YouTube and actually saw Roxanne broadcasting one day. I couldn't comment for some reason. I wanted to say hello, and I couldn't get the comment thing to work. But she had a lot of people watching. I think she had like 100 people watching her YouTube.
Oh yeah,
good to see her again. And
she's got a big following, like Ralph does.
Right, very smart woman. She's bright. Go ahead, Chuck.
I was going to ask, has anyone seen the 2 dumbasses?
Yeah, what happened with that whole thing?
I noticed they just kind of mysteriously disappeared from Podbean. I think he's on Instagram.
Now, what happened?
I got a word through the grapevine that somebody said that they kept mentioning Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea on their podcast. They got pissed off and left.
Huh.
That's what I heard. I'm not saying it's true.
Well, see, I had someone, I'm not going to get into any names, but I had someone tell me that Josh was taking money from people. So I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, but I guess he had solicited money from several people. And I'm talking, not $50, I'm talking thousands of dollars. And then he was called out for it, and he's denying that it happened. So I'm not sure.
Cinda Love, I think, is not denying it too.
Yeah, so I mean I did hear that someone was saying that did happen, and I'm not going to get in the middle of another Podbean argument. I had mine months ago, and I'm done with getting in the middle of situations. But it's just too bad to hear, whatever way it went. I mean, he had a pretty good show, and it's sad to see that he's gone. And if there was something that did happen, that's unfortunate also. But whatever. So now, what did you hear, Chuck? So he was mad that people were coming into his show.
There was, I guess, okay. I'm not going to say who said anything to me. It was on a message. And they said, well, the 2 dumbasses? I said, yeah. And he's like, yeah, there was a lot of people going in. Well, you should go on to Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea show. It's funnier like that. And I was like, that's kind of rude. Why would you say that shit? These guys are actually pretty good. And he's like, yeah, but people just kept saying it. And I guess it pissed him off. I'm like, I don't believe that. I just don't.
Yeah,
because we always mention the 2 dumbasses on our show. And it never, we were like, yeah, they're cool and pretty awesome and shit like that, but I would never criticize anybody for it sucking or being terrible. That's on them. So
and then you gotta understand that there's also the issue with trolls and bullies, wanting to stir up drama and like I said earlier, I think the reason why a lot of people are exploring leaving Podbean to go over to the VOP network, new podcasting and radio station platform is they want to be free of the drama that has been going on here and get away from what has become a podcast version of Facebook, where people are all the time airing other people's dirty laundry, and these are people basically having nothing better to do with their lives except inflict misery on other people. When on the podcast they do, you got podcast hosts like DiVito and Slightly and Dan and Cummings who come on here for the purpose to enlighten and inform an audience, with real substantive issues, and then people like you, Chuck, who like to entertain people, and you don't want your show being sent to hell in a handbasket.
Well, we the funny thing is if we get any trolls in our show, we accept them. and we have had like tons. And the funny thing is if you accept them, they actually chill the fuck out and actually be cool. It's the truth. We've had like 4 or 5 of them come in there, and they're like, "Oh, you guys suck," and like, "Yeah, well, whatever. Then don't come in here. Just go." And then we start chit-chat with them, asking where they're from, and
if they hate your show so much, why are they tuned into it?
Exactly. That's
Well,
what we say.
hey, the best thing you and Billy are doing is thanking them for upping your engagement score.
Exactly. Thanks for coming in. You want to stay for five minutes, and we're good.
Once you have trolls, you know you've made it, right? You know your show's a good show.
Oh yeah.
You have people coming in and shitting on you. That's the best thing about it. So,
Exactly.
So Cummings, hey, welcome to the show, Cummings. It's good to have you on the panel. We had Alexandra on earlier, and now we've got you on.
Yeah, we had Alexandre.
Oh God, Alexandre, that fucker.
That was good there, Cummings. Good show there.
We did that last night. I texted James last night, and I was like, hey, he was like, yeah, because me is under the weather, and I was sitting there and I was like, you want to make your show a little more exciting tonight? And he was like, sure. And so we called in, and I was just trolling Pertwee the whole time. It took him a little bit to figure out who it was, but
that was funny. That was hysterical.
I knew it was you, damn it.
I knew it was him, but I just decided to keep quiet. Let's see if that episode from last night gets record downloads, and let's see if your show today, John, gets record downloads.
Well, I'll definitely promote it well that we have this on. Now, I wanted to mention a couple things also. I got like all my notes here of things I wanted to talk about. There was one thing that I wanted to bring up today. I wanted to hear all your opinion on this a little bit. And this isn't political. It isn't meant to be at all. But I'm wondering, do you guys think this is COVID related? It must be. I was looking at statistics, and there were statistics about murder rates in this country. And Chicago right now has 750 murders. I know they always lead the country in that unfortunate category, but their murders are up 50% this year. LA 30%, New York City 40%, and even Boston is like 40%. Overall, the entire country in 2019, we had 5,194 murders in 2019. In 2020, we had 7,101 murders for a 36% increase in murders over the course of the year. Do you guys think that's just COVID? I mean, why the hell do we have almost a 40% increase of murders nationwide in the country? Any ideas? I mean, Cummings, you might have a feel to that.
No clue there. I mean, I think it warrants further research.
Birmingham, Alabama is also reporting record murders.
See, I have the stats up here. Well, here it is. I've got the stats from actually almost every major city in the country, and of course, I can't get it to open. Here it is. I'll see if Birmingham's mentioned in this thing that I have, but I mean, it's got nearly every city. I mean, even New Orleans is up 61%, Kansas City 15%, Philadelphia 35%, Oakland 37%, Vegas only 14%. When you say only, Minneapolis up 72%, Milwaukee up 94%. So you're seeing across the whole country just a huge increase in murders. I'm wondering, are people snapping due to the isolation? Being trapped in from COVID? Is it money issues? I mean, I don't know what it is. But I just happened to see that pop across my screen today. I wanted to talk about it a little bit. And it's just kind of crazy to me that we've had that much of an increase in murders in 2020 across the country. And I mean, to me, it has to be a correlation due to people feeling hopeless, or people not having jobs, or people, snapping from being trapped at home. I don't know. What do you think, Cummings? Do you think that it's all a reaction to COVID, or is it other things that's going into such an increased murder rate in this country right now?
It would probably be money would probably be the number one issue, because, I mean, if you look at your inner cities, a lot of the things that's happening there is that, rent is insane inside the, inner cities, and the people can't afford to they can't afford to pay their rent, and so of course they're going to be, doing things they have to do to get their rent. And I mean, if you break in on a house on somebody and somebody's there and they got a weapon and they did too, I mean, you're going to get a murder out of that. So
when you see it so widespread, I mean, because you hear things about Chicago all the time, and Chicago is crazy with the numbers they have. I mean, it's more than like Boston, Los Angeles, and New York put together in the city of Chicago, which is just nuts. when you think about that. But when you see so many murders increasing all over the country, it just makes you realize, because people have been looking at all the COVID deaths. But one of the things I've been talking about for a long time on this show is, in addition to, being safe for COVID, which we all need to be, you have to worry about people's mental health. And to me, it looks like maybe this country is dealing with a mental health issue. And I mean, for me, I've been trying to do the right things with COVID. I wear my mask when I go into a store, but literally for the last 9 months, my social life has been a lot different than it had been before. And have any of you thought about this? I mean, I look forward, or let's say 6 months from now, maybe the vaccines are out. We're finally able to go out and resume our lives, hopefully at some point. I mean, do you think for you it's going to be strange to be able to go into a movie theater without a mask? Is it going to feel weird to go into a grocery store without a mask, or go to a party with your friends? I mean, to me, I think it's almost going to be a little PTSD as far as getting back to normal life once this whole COVID thing is over.
It's going to be weird.
Anyone? Yeah,
it's going to be.
Hey, I saw you think.
Oh, no, I was going to say it's because everybody's so used to it now. It's been a year. People are out there buying their designer masks, because they want to wear them and show them off and shit like that. It's like a new piece of clothing for you. So it's going to be, you have to wear it. You're so used to it now. You're just going to put it on and be like, oh, fuck, I don't need it on, but you're going to wear it anyways. It's going to happen. You're going to see it.
That's what I do. If I accidentally forget my mask, I actually did it. I walked into a bank about a week ago, and I was only using the ATM inside, so I wasn't actually going into the bank. I was just going into the lobby, and I forgot to wear my mask. And I remember feeling like I was doing something dirty by not wearing my mask into the lobby of the bank. It's so weird when we can hopefully get back to not having to wear these friggin' things all the time. But the worst is, too, it never fails me when I'm like the furthest away from a building. I had to park like a half a mile away from the grocery store, and then you finally get into get to the front door, and you realize, oh fuck, I forgot my mask. And you have to truck all the way back to the car to get a mask, and I've done that probably 20 times in the last month or whatever. But I don't know. It's going to feel weird. And I see Jess's comment. It would be interesting to see how these murders occurred. That's a good point. Is it home invasions, drive-by shootings, domestic violence? That's a good point. It would be nice to have more of a breakdown. I mean, really, the article I'm looking at, it just says murders up, 36.7% in 57 agencies with data, at least through December. I mean, I'm trying to look for a city where maybe it's not up. I mean, Louisville, Kentucky, up 78%. Madison, Wisconsin. Madison, Wisconsin, up 400%. I mean, really, every city is up like double digits and crazy numbers. I'm trying to look for one city. Virginia Beach is 15%. I mean, there's really none I can find that have gone down. There's not one city on this list. Oh, I take that back. Oklahoma City is down 20%. So they went from 50 down to 46. So Oklahoma City is one that actually went down. But that's the only one on my list.
Birmingham, Alabama's up 15.7% from last year.
Yeah,
and it's one of the most dangerous. Just being honest now, I don't know if anybody ever watched the show First 48.
No, never saw it.
Birmingham, Alabama was always on the First 48. Like, you could guarantee that you were going to see either it was Houston or Birmingham. That was two of the cities that were on there the most.
Wow. Yeah, I've not. Now, how big of a city is Birmingham? Is it a big city? I mean, population-wise, how big?
Yeah, Birmingham is about the size of. It's not quite the size of Houston, but I mean, it's getting there.
So it's a big city. I mean, it's a good sized city than Birmingham. I've never been, so I can't say. So, all right,
Birmingham has a place that's so dangerous. This is a honest to God true story. Anybody can look into this. They have an apartment complex there that is so dangerous the police won't even go there.
Wow, that's crazy stuff. So. Hey, listen, Cummings, I'm going to wrap up soon, but I wanted to talk a little bit with you and maybe even Erik. I know that Chuck had to split, but now we talked on your show about a week ago about college football. This weekend, we've got pro football coming up. Now, are you a big pro football fan or not too much? This is wild card weekend in the NFL. I mean, for me, my Patriots are for the first time in a long time not in the playoffs, so I've got to find a team to get excited for, and for me, it'll probably be Tampa Bay, for Tom Brady and Gronkowski. But now I'm looking at the games that are being played. Do you know enough about the NFL to talk about what teams you think are going to win?
Yeah.
He's good. Want to sit down? I don't have headphones for you, though. I got my son Ethan coming over also. He's a big football guy, so he'd be able to help us a little bit also. Let's talk about a few of the games, and you guys can talk about, what games you think might, who might win, who's favored. The first game I'm looking at are the Colts and the Bills. So I'm gonna give my headphones to Ethan so he can hear. So here you go, Ethan. So Colts and the Bills. What do you think?
Definitely the Bills. Josh Allen's my favorite quarterback in the league. Their offense is dominating. Their defense has been playing better lately. And the Colts, Phillip Rivers is old and he's not good at all.
What do you think, Josh? What is Cummings saying?
Who do you think?
I need my headphones.
Yeah.
All right. I can't do without my headphones. All right, go ahead. I'll tell him what you're saying. Go ahead.
I think he's spot on. I think the Bills are going to wind up, in the Super Bowl. Just being honest.
I think so too. He thinks the Bills are going to wind up in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think the Bills are a tough team. I mean, Josh Allen, great quarterback. And I think you're right. I think they're going to be tough to beat. So I guess my pick in that game would be the Bills. I think the Bills are going to take the Colts. Would you agree, Ethan? Yeah. You guys speak. They can't hear you nodding your head.
Yep.
All right. There we go. All right. How about NFL wildcard round between the Rams and the Seahawks? What do you think there, Ethan?
This one's definitely going to be a close game. I feel like it could go either way. They're both teams have been playing really well. But just because one of my friends is a Seahawks fan, I want to say that the Rams are going to win.
Which friend is that? Who's the Seahawks fan?
Nate Mahoney.
Oh, Mahoney's a Seahawks fan?
Yeah.
I thought he was a Titans fan.
No, his dad's a Titans fan.
Oh, I didn't know he was a Seahawks fan. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's your feeling on that game?
I think the Rams are going to win it just because of their defense. I think they're a little better.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think so too. I'm on board with the Rams also. Now, the next game, we're going to go through this kind of quickly. The Buccaneers versus Washington. I mean, for me, I'm a guy that, I know that Tom Brady's older. I know that maybe their running game isn't great. Their pass defense hasn't been great, but I don't think you can count out Tom Brady in the playoffs. I mean, especially with the weapons he has at receiver. I don't know if they have a good enough team to win the whole thing because they do have holes on that team. But I think in this game, I'd pick the Buccaneers. What do you think, Ethan?
Well, seeing that the Washington football team is only like 7-9 and they got into the playoffs because their division is terrible. And
they have a good defense, though. They have a solid defense.
Yeah, well, one of the guys on the defense Tom Brady, so I feel like that's just going to fire up Tom Brady even more. So I feel like I have the Bucs in this game.
Why would you do that? Why would you, as a young defensive player, as a rookie, why are you calling out Tom Brady? Have you not learned over the years that Tom Brady thrives on that type of thing? Keep your pie hole shut and go play the game, What do you think, Cummings?
Bucks. Chase Young needs to learn how to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. That was just stupid on his part. How about the Ravens and the Titans? I think the Ravens are going to win this game. What do you think, Ethan?
I'm going with the Titans. Because they have Derrick Henry. He's so good. He could carry their whole team. This is his second consecutive year of getting 2,000 rushing yards. He's insane. I feel like their quarterback might not be the best, but I mean, Lamar Jackson's a running back, so I feel like the Titans are going to win.
I don't know, though. The Titans' defense has done nothing this year. I haven't been impressed with their defense at all.
King Henry.
We'll see. What do you think, Cummings?
No, it's the Titans, man. Derrick Henry. I watched Derrick Henry ever since he arrived at Alabama. I knew he was a beast when he was at Alabama. Then he won the Heisman Trophy. Then he went to the NFL, and the Cowboys said that Ezekiel Elliott was somehow better than him, and which that was a trash analysis.
That's garbage.
The Cowboys took Ezekiel Elliott instead of taking Derrick Henry. They would have won a Super Bowl because at the talent they had at the time, the Cowboys would have won a Super Bowl with Derrick Henry because they had Tony Romo and Des Bryant. He was the missing piece for that.
You're right. He was. He would have been the missing piece. And I don't know if you knew, Eric. He's talking about. Ethan. He's talking about Derrick Henry went to Alabama. He's from Alabama, so he's a big Alabama fan. So he's talking about that. So, all right, I'm still going to stick with the Ravens. Again, part of the reason is because Coach Mahoney likes the Titans.
That's a fair
Ethan's
point.
baseball coach is a huge Titans fan, and on Facebook all the time, he talks trash about the Patriots constantly. So I want to see him lose so I can talk shit to him when I see him. The baseball game. How about Bears Saints? What do you think, Ethan?
I want to go for the big upset here.
No.
I want the Bears to win.
You think the Bears can beat the Saints?
Yes. Honestly, Drew Brees is pretty old nowadays. he's got like a noodle
So's
arm.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, but Drew Brees has a noodle arm. Tom Brady's arm is still pretty good. But I think Mitch Trubisky's gonna start, and I feel like he could pull it off.
Well, you've been saying all year how much Mitch Trubisky stinks.
Yeah,
so all of a sudden now you think he's going to pull it off?
But he made the playoffs. I mean, he did better than Nick Foles. That guy's a bum. Like literally, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl.
All right, what do you think, Cummings? How about that game? Because I'm going with the Saints in this game.
Oh, it's the Saints, man. And you don't pass for 80,000 yards for no reason.
No, I agree completely. I think the Bears are going to get a smackdown in a big way. We'll see about that. All right, we'll have you back on once the Saints smoke the Bears, and we'll have you talk about how you got your ass kicked.
Once the Bears win, you have to come on this podcast and make an apology to me.
Okay. I'll tell you what. I will make that deal. If the Bears beat the Saints, I will make an apology to you. Now, if the Saints beat the Bears, you have to come over here when I'm on the air, and you have to massage my feet while I'm on the air.
Okay, deal.
All right, done. I like it. All right, last game, Browns Steelers. I am, even though I've got to say the Steelers are going to win, I hate the Steelers, so I'm going to say the Browns.
I want the Browns to win because I like Baker Mayfield.
I do too. What do you think, Cumming?
Steelers.
Yeah, I do too. I think that should be an easy win for the Steelers. The one thing about the Steelers, though, I don't know. Roethlisberger hasn't looked great. The passing game hasn't been great, but we'll see. I think that Mayfield could potentially put something together, but I don't think it's going to be enough to beat the Steelers yet.
He lost to like a bunch of his wide receivers, so I don't know.
And we just switched back to the screen. I see Jess saying, wow, Ethan isn't a fan of old quarterbacks. You know how it is. He's 14 years old. Someone that's 20 is old to him,
Well, Josh Allen is the GOAT.
All right. No, Tom Brady is the GOAT, please.
I know, but Josh Allen can throw the ball 80 yards.
All right. Well, listen, everybody. I'm going to wrap this bad boy up. I've been on for like an hour and a half. Chuck, thanks for joining. Eric, thanks for joining. Eric,
Yes.
Hey, you gonna take a pick? You gonna take a pick on the national championship game where your son's there?
Okay, yeah, Brandon, Ethan, come on back. He's getting his food. That's what he's always doing. All right, but you want to take a pick on the national championship college game? Who's playing?
I know Ohio State is. I don't remember that other team.
All right, I'm going to put the headphones on. You can educate him. Here we go. I told you, we're not big in college football up here. All right, he wanted to ask you.
Who's playing?
The University of Alabama, who always plays for the national championship.
Yeah, that's fair. Kind of like Justin Fields.
Justin Fields is actually hurt, and they're trying to postpone the game. Yeah, they're trying to postpone the game because they're saying, oh, it's COVID. And
then I'll go with Alabama. Yeah, Alabama's probably going to win.
Well, Alabama's definitely going to win. Alabama's just a beast of a team.
Well, I've got a shocker. Ohio State's going to beat Alabama.
Wait, you actually think Ohio State's going to win?
Yep, because Alabama's losing their offensive coordinator to the Texans, and the last time this happened, when Alabama and Ohio State played, Ohio State murdered Alabama.
Wow. So you actually think they're going to – for me – this is one of those things. Again, I know Ohio State, great program. I work for a company in Ohio. Again, we've talked about Northeast. College football is not that big of a thing, but I work for an Ohio-based company. And man, seeing the rivalry between Ohio State and Michigan fans was just crazy every year. But I don't know, man. Alabama to me seems like they're going to be tough to beat. What holes in the Alabama team do you think Ohio State can, open up to beat them?
Alabama has a weak defense, especially they have trouble with a quarterback that can run. Justin Fields can run, even though if he's hurt or not, he still can run. The defensive coordinator, Pete Golding, is an idiot. He'll play quarters. He'll play a quarter defense when you're playing. When you got a receiver in the slot, it's easy to create mismatches against Alabama because your slot receiver, if he's playing quarters most of the time, the linebacker is going to have to pick up the slot receiver and pass him off to the secondary, and he gets lost in transition. So,
all right. Well, I'm surprised to hear you say that. Do you think it's going to be a close game, or is it going to be a blowout?
I think it'll be close for a while. And listen, Mac Jones, he's going to be the next quarterback at the New England Patriots. I don't think there's any. Some people are saying it's going to be Justin Fields, but
you think he's going to drop down low enough for the Patriots to get him in the draft?
Yeah, they're only saying that Mac Jones is going to be like mid first round.
Okay.
So he'll be there for the Patriots. I think they'll take him because the pocket presence is there, and he's a young quarterback. I think they'll keep Cam for another year, and then about midway through the season, they'll do him the same way they did Tua down in Miami. They'll eventually phase Cam out, and then they'll put Mac into the game.
Yeah, Cam Newton, I watched him a lot this year. And again, I know this is never going to happen. I've talked about it before. But, I mean, for me, the days of Cam Newton, I think, being a quarterback are over. The guy cannot throw the football anymore. I know this year the Patriots did not have a great receiving core, but they had a very good running game. I mean, their offensive line was blowing people off the ball. They ran the ball well. We talked about Harris from Alabama was outstanding this year, and he had a really good season. But for me, I don't think Cam Newton can throw anymore. I would love to see Cam Newton switch positions. I know it's not going to happen. He thinks he's going to be a quarterback someplace else, but I could see Cam Newton being one hell of a tight end. He's got great hands. He's 6'5", 240. He's got good speed. He could run. Could you imagine if he switched his position, became a tight end, and ended up being kind of one of the go-to guys for whoever the new quarterback is going to be? I mean, it'll never happen. I know it's a pipe dream. But for me, we got to see Stidham in some small, glimpses this year, and he's just not the future quarterback for the Patriots. So I think you're right. They are going to draft a quarterback, and hopefully we do get him. I mean, that'd be great if we get Mac on the Patriots, because we certainly need to rebuild up here. And the Patriots fans have been spoiled for many years, and I know we're not going to get any sympathy across the country for having a bad team for a few years. But hopefully we can rebuild and get a decent quarterback, because right now we don't have one.
You may take Kyle Pitts if he's there.
Yep. They need someone. I mean, what we have right now in the roster is just not there. We have no receivers. The defense did lose, I think, 5 members to people that bowed out due to COVID this year. So we definitely had some guys that bowed out. I mean, I think the defense is okay. The offensive line, I think, was the bright spot of the team this year. I mean, run block.
Dante Hightower's getting old, man.
Yeah, he is getting old. He is. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, they had some players that were aging. And, I mean, the receiving core, Bill Belichick has picked a lot of his receivers, and they haven't been good. I mean, you got Bird, you got N'Keal Harry, you've got guys that just haven't panned out. And thinking back on Bill Parcells' O-line, if you're going to ask me to cook the dinner, you should let me shop for the groceries. Well, I think Bill Belichick needs some help shopping for the groceries, because he hasn't done a great job so far with the organization. So, anyway, I see your comment too about Big Ben being old. Big Ben's old. He's been a great quarterback, but I think his days are coming to an end also. So
did you hear about that your beloved coach, Mr. Belichick, got contacted about another job?
Did he really? I didn't hear that. What job?
I wasn't aware of that either. Wow.
Yeah, he got contacted about the University of Texas job.
Huh.
He was one of their top 3. It was Bill Belichick, Urban Meyer, and Bob Stoops, I believe, was one of the first 3 people they contacted. Those 3 turned it down. And then they hired the offensive coordinator from Alabama, Steve Sarkisian.
Now, let me ask you your opinion on that. I mean, for me, that's kind of a cool concept to think about it. But do you think Belichick could step back from the NFL and coach a Division I? I mean, obviously a huge Division I college, but could he go back and coach Division I college after being a professional coach for all these years? Could he make that adjustment?
Well, I mean, Saban did.
Yeah, he did.
And Saban, when you remember, I mean, I know you remember because you're a Patriots fan. You remember when Saban was coaching the Dolphins, they went back-to-back against each other.
I do. I remember that. Yep. I remember Saban. He's a great coach.
The only reason Saban left the Dolphins was because they wouldn't draft Drew Brees.
Right. I remember that. Yep, that's right. Saban was a great coach. I mean, he really was. There's no doubt about it. I think Saban, though, has the ability to be a little bit more flexible than Belichick does. I mean, Belichick, I think, is, in my opinion, he's a guy with Asperger's that just doesn't know he has Asperger's, and his whole life is football. And, I mean,
that's the way Saban is.
Same way, yeah.
His wife said they were talking about him retiring when he was, he couldn't coach this year because he had COVID. And when he was sitting on the sidelines, his wife said that he was just screaming at the television. And she was like, she didn't know what was going on upstairs. But, he got back to Alabama and he was like, oh, God, I missed it. I think all the greats are like that. I mean, Paul Bear Bryant, when he was at Alabama, he retired. 2 months later, he died.
I love Bear Bryant. Yeah, great coach.
Bill Parcells is pretty much,
Yep.
I mean,
Again, I don't put myself in this realm. I've been coaching baseball for many years in town. And for me, that's one thing my wife always said to me. For me, when I'm not coaching, I sit on the sidelines and I yell like I do when I'm coaching. So she says to me, will you please just coach? Because then at least you don't look like a lunatic sitting on the sidelines as a parent when you're yelling as a coach. So that's one thing I always do better on the field coaching than I do sitting on the sidelines, when I'm trying to yell out instructions and things like that to the players, because it just doesn't look good when you're a parent. But yeah, it's true. I think that, I'm sure you feel this way. For me, you're a younger guy than I am. You're what, 28 years old, if I remember correctly? Yep. Yeah, you're 28. I'm 53. But, when I was 28, I was thinking, boy, man, when I get, my 50s, 60s, I want to retire. I've had people ask me that now because, we're in a place where I could probably retire if I wanted to, but I don't want to retire. I like doing my job. I have a job that I really enjoy in sales, working for education companies. And, for doing the things that I do, even like coaching. I love coaching. I love keeping busy. And at this point in my life, I don't know if I'll ever want to retire. It won't really even be about money. It'll just be about being engaged and keeping involved and being a part of something. Because I've seen, my dad who retired, he had a government job and he retired at the age of, I think, 58. And he has a pension, so money's not a problem for him. He gets his, monthly payment. But I saw him for years just be bored and be depressed because he had nothing to do. It sounds great when you're working, but honestly, over the course of 30 years, how many times can you go golfing? How many times can you go to the beach? How many times can you go out for a breakfast and lunch with your friends before it becomes monotonous? And when you have no point in your life and you're just sitting around the house, to me, I don't know, that just scares me, the thought of just being that, without purpose in life. So,
well, that's what I'm doing right now, John. Like I'm just being honest, I'm going a little stir crazy too, because man, I'm just negotiating over the phone now. So I may hear from somebody for 3 hours a day. You get paid for 8, but then the rest of the day, I have no idea what to do sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing with my job. And with my job, I work a lot in the morning and then I work late afternoon into the evening. I take some time off around lunch like I've done today just to do this so I don't go crazy. But you're right. It's you go stir crazy being in the house. But now this is something I've done my whole career. This remote thing is not new for me. When I graduated college at the age of 22, my first job was in sales, and I've been working in sales my entire career, and I've always worked out of my house. I've only spent 1 year of my 30-year career working in an office, and that's when I became the interim vice president of sales for my old company, because we had a VP of sales that was great, and he quit, and they didn't have anybody. So I agreed. I was an hour away from the office. I agreed to pitch in. I didn't want to do the job because I'd have to be on an airplane every week, missing my children. So I turned the job down when I had the chance to interview. But I've been working remotely my whole career. But at least in sales, I've been able to go out and visit customers. You get in your car, you go to buildings, you visit people. And it's not just being in the house, all day, every day, because it gets crazy and monotonous and it's just boring. I don't know how people do it for years on end.
No, man, it's crazy because, like, I can't even, one of the things we were discussing before the whole COVID deal was I was going to, around this time, end of springtime, I was just going to, that's the whole reason I built the whole little studio inside my home.
I saw that you had like the sound material up and everything. I saw one of your pictures, right? You have like a full-blown studio.
Yeah, I've got a full-blown studio in my house. And one of the things I was going to do is just buy better equipment, the Shure microphones and stuff like that. And we were working on getting a better getting a, like a round table for everybody to come over and sit. And we were just going to live cast and, shoot the shit, really. Yeah, and talk to who we wanted to. But, man, with COVID, I got a friend right now that's got COVID pneumonia. My little girl woke up sick this morning, so we have no idea if she has COVID or not.
My daughter came downstairs today saying she has a cold. Same thing we're kind of worried about here, because today you don't know. You don't know if that little sniffle is going to turn into something that's a huge problem. For the most part, the people that we've known up here that have gotten sick, have been okay. But there was one guy who was my son's hitting coach at his travel baseball team. He's in his early 40s, mid 40s. He's in great shape, and he ended up coming down with COVID. Ended up in the hospital. He'd be a guy you'd never predict would end up in a hospital, because of COVID, because he's a healthy young guy. And unfortunately for him, he's okay now. He got out and he's back to, living his life. But he talked about what a scary experience it was being in the hospital. And he had this jackass doctor, that was taking care of him, literally told him like every day, you could die. He was like a foreign doctor. The first day this guy was in the hospital, the doctor came up to him and said, "Can I get your wife's phone number? There is the possibility you could die, and I want to be able to have contact with her." So this poor bastard's on his phone in the hospital texting me and going, hey, dude, your wife's a doctor, right? Could you ask her if I'm in trouble? And I'm like, why? What's going on? And he told me. I'm like, holy shit. So I told my wife, I'm like, this is what this doctor is telling this guy. And she was like, oh, my God, that's completely unprofessional. And when he read off like his oxygen levels, I mean, he was sick, but he wasn't really in danger. And for this doctor to like scare the crap out of this poor guy, I felt horrible for him. I mean, the poor guy is saying now he has PTSD after being in the hospital because he's a young guy with young kids. He thought he was going to die and leave his children without a father, and just kind of crazy stuff that people are going through in the hospitals.
Well, they diagnosed me with cancer one time without even having anything, because I had because my face was really swollen, and they was feeling of it, and what do they call it? Your spit gland or whatever?
Oh, your pituitary
salivary gland.
Yeah, your salivary gland. They were saying that it was a tumor inside my jaw, and they were saying that they was diagnosing me with cancer and all this crap. And the next thing I know, I go to this dentist, and the dentist goes, "Oh, you know what's wrong with you, don't you?" I was like, "What?" He goes, "Your salivary gland's backed up." So they diagnosed me with cancer one time, but
We talked about that. I mean, there are some bad doctors out there. There was this doctor years ago that my wife worked with, and that she saw this point blank, because my wife, when she first started, as a doctor, she was delivering babies also. So she was on call. Phone would ring at 3:00 in the morning. She'd have to leave and go deliver a baby. And there was one of the doctors she worked with, literally dropped the baby on the floor. Like the baby came out of the mother, and he missed. He swung and missed, and literally dropped the baby. He picked it up and wasn't going to tell her, because she's laying on the thing. You couldn't see it. So he dropped the baby, picked it up, and moved it over to the table. And the other people in the room were like, dude, I mean, you kind of got to let the mother know you just fucking dropped her baby. You can't just put it on the table and not tell her. And he wasn't going to say anything. He dropped the baby on the floor. It's just crazy.
We had a doctor one time that, they put the little pan underneath the woman because of all the stuff that comes out. Okay, we had a doctor one time that just walked in there flat ass drunk and missed, and the baby's head hit the side of that pan.
Oh,
well, they tried to hide it, and they kept trying to hide it. Well, the mother was wondering what happened to her baby, so they of course sent the baby off for an autopsy because the baby died, and they found out that the baby died from blunt force trauma, and one of the nurses finally came forward.
Wow.
And told that, he dropped the baby and he was drunk.
I see Mr. A's comment. It's okay, John. You're doing okay now after that drop. I'm glad you're okay, because I know you've been coming into the show waiting for me to tell that story. So I'm glad that the drop did not have a negative effect on your life. That's good to hear, man. All right. Listen, I'm going to wrap this bad boy up. I actually got to get back to work. Eric, you want to run down the list of shows, and then I'm going to down the road.
Well, we definitely want to promote, of course, hashtag VOP Empire, of course. Weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Of course, our good friend yours truly is doing her show. And then coming up in less than an hour, Jeremy will be doing his Cummings' Culture show over on VOP USA Radio. And then Wednesday night, of course, at 7 p.m. Eastern, it's Rise Above the Noise with Carrie and Kevin. Dan and Carrie. They do we drink and we know things on Sunday nights. Kevin and Carrie do, and of course here on Podbean, of course you've got hopefully the Talk Corner from Exotics Radio decides to do a show today. We look forward to seeing Cracks again soon, and of course Trice Talk is on at 11 p.m. Eastern, and Slightly Serious, he will be on at a special time tonight of midnight Eastern, and Ralph Williams is back tomorrow morning, and the Chit Chat with the Old Man at 10 a.m. Eastern. And of course, we hope to, of course, get the VOP USA Radio podcast platform and radio station lined up with great podcast friends and newcomers, and also later in the week, be sure to check out Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea, and over the weekend, Lyrical Laxatives and Tall Tales in the Rabbit Hole, and a few other great podcast friends of ours who deliver great podcast shows.
And there's our beautiful friend, Dina Joe. Dina Joe, good to see you. Believe it or not, we've been on for an hour and 45 minutes today. And man, this show did not go the way I planned, but definitely if you get a chance after the fact, we went in a different direction when I had Alexandra call in, and that was something I didn't expect it, but it was a fun show. I enjoyed it. It's okay. No, don't be sorry. We all have life. So I appreciate you stopping in even for a few minutes right at the end of the show. But today we decided to go a little bit non-politics. And honestly, I think I'm a little politics burnt out. So probably for the next several shows, I'm not going to talk too much about politics unless something big happens. So anyway, there goes my dog, Molly, barking. So I want to thank everybody for coming into the show.
But I know today's going to be a busy news day for sure, but slightly, and Dan and Carrie and others, and I'm sure Jeremy will be talking about that throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, for everybody coming in, thank you for joining the John DeVito Show. And tell me if you like my new music. I have some new music, so we're going to kick this off.
You sound good.
Yep. Here we go. The new music, my new rock music. All right, everybody, thank you for coming in. And I'll probably be on tomorrow, so tune back in. Thank you.
Look forward to it.